Tonight, on News of Eternity, we'll be discussing our first great extinction since the dinosaurs roamed the Earth. It seems to be along the lines of the end of the Devonian period. The mysterious Jacob will start you off with a brief introduction to the time.
The late Devonian extinction was a mass extinction which occurred over 372 million years ago. The Devonian period is often regarded as the age of fish, as it saw the difficulties of many prehistoric marine species. It is regarded as one of the 5 largest mass extinctions, eliminating approximately 75% of all species on Earth at the time. It mainly affected the marine species, as well as organisms living in shallow warm water. Back at that time, some species were beginning to move onto land. However, most of them still lived in the oceans. The main reason for this mass extinction is still unknown, for it is speculated to have happened because of climate change, sea level fluctuations, and crash of dissolved oxygen in the water. It is also theorized that the Devonian period ended with global cooling, which was likely from volcanic eruptions covering the sky in tandem with other causes. Within the Devonian period, there was a great diversity of flora and fauna. There is evidence that algae were around, as well as birophytes, which are a set of land plants, and charophytes, which are a type of algae. After the extinction, the number of plants greatly increased the amount of oxygen, which was vital for animals. The mass extinction affected the marine life more than the land life. Every placoderm and nearly all jaws fish died. However, bony fish and sharks were able to survive the extinction. With that out of the way, Hudson will go over the few changes we might be seeing and the incredibly disastrous impact that this could have on our world if it were to happen now.
The Devonian extinction was made up of multiple distinct factors, being climate change and quick cooling temperatures, dissolved oxygen levels in the ocean, volcanic eruption, and/or meteor strikes. If you look at how these certain disasters would affect our modern world, we could take climate change for example, and the drastic drop in temperature it caused. This climate change was a result of a drastic drop in carbon dioxide in the atmosphere, caused by newly developed forests at the time. This causes the new Earth to cool. The water vapor will fall out the sky. It would have massive consequences to start, with huge regions of land where millions of people live becoming uninhabitable for humans, or life at all. The drop in temperature kills flora unequipped to survive cold climates, some vegetables being potatoes, pumpkins, and tomatoes, as well as a plethora of others. Many species rely on these vegetables to survive, and without these plants, they will die, causing a whole domino effect in the food chain.
On the topic of animals, those without fur coats or resistance to cold climates would die, which would cause a whole range of problems for the ecosystem since it would be thrown out of balance so quickly. Some of these problems would be the extinction of certain plants and gradual dwindling of specific animals. With a change this sudden, no species would have time to adapt and evolve if they aren't already equipped, which drowns out food sources for humans and focuses them to a small number of plant and animal species that we would have to adjust to eating. Along with these changes in climate, it would also affect the oceans, causing asphyxiation and killing of the lineage of marine life that swims below the surface, which is another major food source for many for humans.
Now, you might be thinking, what sort of effect could this possibly have on our environment? Well, one might say, a significant event such as the late Devonian's climate change would impact a massive number of species and change how they work in the long term. As was stated before, animals without a current fur coat would die out, which eventually would cause food chain issues for the predators of those animals and would allow for the prey of that animal, if it had resistance to cold, to do extremely well without threat of being hunted. Humans would suffer a massive loss of food, as many of our farm animals would suffer death, notably cows, chickens, and pigs. We would also suffer extreme famine, as we would not have found plants or animals to keep such a large population alive.
This wraps up our discussion on the present-day Devonian extinction. We are Jacob and Hudson saying good night on tonight's News of Eternity.